And we are live, guys. Welcome to yet another live session from Men of High Value channel. My name is Joseph Darling, and we've got lots to talk about. I've recently been reading a blog that has been out since 2011. There's this guy that's written for 7 years. It's become a very big blog in America. Of course, most people don't know about it, but it has a huge following. And it's a blog that's called Mr. Money Mustache. I thought it was a cool nickname because, you know, we're talking about men of high value, and what's more manly than a mustache? So I was intrigued and I started reading a little bit on it, and I found it to be very on point with the movement and everything that we're trying to create. What this guy had done, he managed to, at an age of 30, he managed to retire from his full-time job and now being able to simply live on the dividends, the returns of his investments that he had made in a mutual fund. So just think about that for a second. He started at the age of 21 to work and work and work and work, but more importantly, to save 50 to 75% of his income into the mutual funds. And over time, he managed to save up $800,000 that he invested immediately when he got the money. He invested immediately into mutual funds that accumulated enough interest of, I believe, 7% over the last 9 years. Or I guess this was a long time ago because he had already retired by 2011. So this was 10 years ago that he retired, but he started writing the blog 4 or 5 years after he was retired, I guess because, you know, he wanted something to do with his time because he had lots and lots of time. So what am I trying to say here? Now, this guy had a high income, but he says that even someone on half his income could do it in 15 years or 13 years. Like, he did the calculations, and he says that 2 salary incomes, for example, if they just set aside one of the salary incomes simply for investments, and then they live on the other income, then they can actually manage to save up enough money to retire within 13 years. Even if you have 0 right now, in 13 years you can completely retire simply by keeping your full-time job. That's insane. Okay, so he goes through the blog and explains, you know, what are things that you can manage to cut down on expenses so that you can leverage as much as money as possible into investments. And then those investments then will create, over the long term, growth. Now, this is quite interesting to say right now because, you know, the stock market, we don't know when it's going to have a correction. And, you know, eventually it might even decrease 40 to 50%, you know, should you actually put it in stocks and things like that right now. That's a decision that you have to make. So this is not financial advice, of course. But what a fantastic blog. So I'm going to put a video below of one of his talks that he had. It's not a TEDx talk, but it was kind of a similar to it that he was asked to do, which he never does. But he did it, and I'll put the link below so you can watch it because it's a fantastic video. Second of all, I don't completely agree with all of his thinking. Now, he's definitely influencing me, and he's doing it in a positive manner because I'm now beginning to put those systems in place in my life. And I'm also starting to read Millionaire Next Door that I've had on my shelf for many, many years, but it's time that I read it. And it's a fantastic book as well. And the reason Or let's say Mr. Money Mustache is half of the picture. The second half of the picture is increasing your income. Now that's what most of the people are talking about online because it's exciting, it's new, you think bigger, it's fancy, you know, they talk about getting the nice house, the nice cars, the airplane, and etc. Now that's not what Mr. Money Mustache is talking about. Right now, when he's been retired for 10 years, he still limits his spending to $30,000 a year, even when he's a multi-millionaire. It's insane. But he just keeps investing his money. Like, what's he gonna do with all that money? He just knows that he's limited his income, and now he's simply investing in other companies so that they can create more important products. So he doesn't invest in consumption that is not necessary for his happiness or for his family. So, but he's been retired. They retired before their first child was born, and he's been a full-time father together with the mom for 10 years. Amazing story. Okay, so what about the other aspect? Imagine if you could take both, the best of both worlds. Mr. Money Mustache of cutting your expenses radically and investing half or 75% of your income and retiring in 10 years or 13 years. What if you could increase your income at the same time? Now that's what I like, because suddenly you can cut down the time for retirement for 5 years or 3 years. And that's what I think is exciting. And I wish I had noticed both aspects a long time ago, because I've only been focusing on increasing my income, which has massively increased, but at the same time my spending habits or investments in more business ideas and more creation to create passive income has caused me to, you know, still not be massively financially rich as I could have been if I had had the same mindset of Mr. Money Mustache at the same time as I created those investments and businesses. That would have been amazing. But, you know, we gotta start sometime, and I'm not perfect, but I'm on the way right now of doing both worlds instead of just one of them, of increasing my income. So, increasing your income. That is a fantastic thing to do as well, and that's what we're going to also talk about throughout this program over the next 365 days. But do check out Mr. Money Mustache and get the app. He has an app that you can just push on, and then you can just read articles as much as you want. I've been spending pretty much all my leisure time, other than my family, doing that. When I wake up in the morning, sometimes even before I go to bed at night, I just read through it, and I'm just amazed that they managed to cut their expenses to $30,000 a year, even though he's making a lot more than that. So I hope you're gonna have a fantastic day. Think about what you can do to cut your expenses, and then think about what are you gonna do with those expenses. I recommend, first of all, that you get rid of debt, especially credit card debt. That's like 20 to 30% interest rates on them. It's just not necessary. If there was a financial meltdown, those interest rates would massively increase, and you would struggle even more financially. And it's not necessary. Just cut the crap, cut the credit cards, don't ever use them again, because obviously you don't have self-control if you've used them. And it's not put you in a very good situation. So I would say take 50 to 70% of your take-home income and put it directly into paying down your credit cards. That's number one, what you're gonna do with your money. And get a part-time job next to your full-time job and work as much as you can and putting the systems in place so that you can do that. Anyway, I'll see you again tomorrow. This is the Men of High Value channel. My name is Joseph Darling, and we are creating success.